Howdy folks, and welcome to 50 Nautical Mile Arc. We have a slightly different type of video today. Today we are going to play with the default clouds in X-Plane 10.45. And the reason for this is because I'm going to be making a purchase in the next day or two of SkyMaxx Pro version 3. And of course by the time you've watched this I've already purchased it and made videos of it, and it just takes about a week or two for me to get the videos online. But in preparation for the purchase, it dawned on me that I have never messed with the default clouds before. So I thought I would do that before installing the SkyMaxx Pro. And I accidentally just turned on autopilot. Whoopsies. Actually, I think I turned it off too. Okay. So we're taking the Eclipse 2.0 today. It's a freeware aircraft. It's a very, very, very good freeware aircraft, and the reason I'm taking it is because I want to be able to get to the clouds and maneuver among the clouds rather quickly. So in order to do that, I decided just to use a quick little easy jet. And then I don't have to worry about engine management or anything. We can just kind of fly and pause and look around. And I'll talk about what I'm doing here. So these are scattered clouds, stratus layer, broken of course, and they're at about 5,500 feet. So we're gonna fly in here, level off, and have a look at these clouds, and then we're gonna mess around with them and play with some Cirrus Clouds and talk about them, and then do some precipitation such as snow and rain. I already have the de-ice turned on because I don't want to forget about it later. Off camera I did try doing this with the Coronado Piper Archer, and it was okay. It was very fun, except the problem was that it took so long to get anywhere because it's a slow aircraft. So it took, forever to get to the clouds, and then whenever I would adjust the clouds, it would take forever, and then I would have to be careful of my precipitation because when it froze and started snowing, I iced up and I crashed, and so I decided to do a jet today so I can play with it. So this doesn't look terribly awful. This doesn't look too bad, actually. We all know that SkyMaxx Pro looks better, but for default clouds, this is pretty cool. We're just at the top of stratus layer. And I do have my cloud puffs turned down at 10%, and that's in preparation for SkyMaxx Pro. But this doesn't look too bad once you're above the clouds or below the clouds. Flying in the clouds looks pretty hideous because it just goes completely white. And I want to be able to fly among the clouds, though, where you go from cloud to cloud, things like that. So now that we've had a look at this, let's pause it and make some adjustments here. And let's go to weather. And so let's actually turn this down to few. Now let's turn up the high layer to Cirrus. So Cirrus Clouds are your clouds that are really, really, really high. And when you're in a jet, a commercial jet, and you're at cruising altitude 34,000, 36,000 feet, you still have that layer of wispy clouds above you. Those are the Cirrus Clouds. That's the Cirrus layer. So here I actually turned it up to 36. I'm going to actually go a little lower here to like 42, 41 to be more realistic. So now if you look up now, it actually doesn't look terribly bad. Well, yes it does. Yes it does. That looks horrible. That is not what Cirrus Clouds look like. Cirrus Clouds should look more like this. But that's just in the distance. It should look like this, but above us as well. It shouldn't look like regular clouds. Whoops. Shouldn't look like regular clouds up there. That's awful. Look at that. Look how many there are. If you think of your last commercial flight and you look up above you, it doesn't look like that, does it? No. It looks like wispy, few clouds. I mean, like I said, this doesn't look too bad. I guess we wouldn't be flying looking straight up. But still, I don't know. It's not great. It could be better. So I wanted to show you that first because I know SkyMaxx Pro does a really, really, really good job with the Cirrus layer. And we also turned down those clouds below us from broken to scattered. So let's go down a little bit here. And we'll fly among the clouds. And the thing that kind of bugs me too is they're kind of flat clouds. In fact, I think I can change that. Let's see. Yeah, they're only 2,000 feet. Let's see. It's only going to give me 2,000 feet. That's fine, I guess. Let's turn them down. Actually, let's go down 1,000, and then we'll be in them, I think. No, we're still a little bit above them. Anyway, also those got my frame rate counter up. we were in the 30s, and all of a sudden fewer clouds, now we're in the teens. Have you noticed that? We actually had better frame rate. I believe we had a better frame rate when we had more clouds. And that's because more objects on the ground did not have to be drawn. So cloud puffs take frame rates. So if I turn my cloud puffs up to like 45%, it'll take much more frame rate. However, fewer clouds, if you're looking at the ground, can increase your frame rate because you have to draw more things. Now that being said, part of the reason here is I do have a certain Minneapolis scenery installed that is off on the frame rates, so I'm actually going to turn around here and we'll restate that if my frame rates pop. But when I had more clouds, I was in the 30s, so let's see what happens here. Whoops, we're kind of going past the standard rate turn. I'm not really doing a realistic flight. This is just kind of to look at the clouds, so. Which is also why I use a FREEWARE aircraft. You don't have to worry about managing it too well. So let's get out of the city here. So we're at this cloud layer, and it's really, really thin, even though it said it's 2,000 feet in the settings. Alright, let's get going back up here. Also notice the clouds stop, right? It doesn't draw them very far, even though I have maximum distance turned on. So this is kind of neat, but it's not very realistic. When you're flying among puffs, they look really flat. I want to get to that next layer up there. So now the frame rates came up about 4 or 5 frames per second because they got away from the city. So let's get further away from the city. And when the cloud, notice when the clouds get thicker, I gain 2 frames per second, and when they get thinner, I lose 2 frames per second. Oh, now I'm in the 20s. Now remember, recording takes 2 frames, so I'd be above 20 right now. Now, see? More clouds, better frame rates. Kind of opposite what you would think, but... So, we saw those nice clouds ahead of us, and they just kind of disappeared when we got to them. Our Cirrus layer. So our Cirrus layer looks okay in the distance, but when it's close, it looks hideous. Alright, so let's pause it again here. Let's play with the cloud a little bit more. Alright, so let's turn that to clear just because it drives me nuts. Alright, let's go to Overcast. And let's keep it at the same altitude. We're going to keep visibility high. Now let's turn visibility down a little bit, because I want to try something. And then we will... Let's go right for VFR. Okay. And then we're going to turn on some storms. Okay, so now we're in an Overcast layer. My frames, I only lost 1 frame. The individual pops. So, what I want to point out is above the Overcast layer, it looks very, 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 very broken, right? You can see through the clouds. Doesn't look very overcast. Of course, in the distance, notice how it looks like we're going to come across thicker clouds. But when we get there, they kind of thin out, and then it's going to look how it does below us. So it looks like we're coming upon a thicker cloud layer, but it's because it hasn't fully rendered. And when we get there, see how it's thinning out at the nose of the aircraft? We're never really getting there. It's just getting more and more broken. And my frame rates, though, are pretty high. They're 25, around 25. Remember adding 2 frames because I'm recording. So it doesn't look like an overcast layer at all. It looks broken. In fact, look at that, and that's not overcast. So now let's go down below the clouds, and we'll see what it looks like above us when it's overcast, without turning storms on. Let's just get down there. I'm not really worried about being realistic at the moment. We're just going to kind of do our demonstration here. See, and even if you look at the midpoint of the windshield or the windscreen, you see how it's rendering at that point. So it looks like we're going to hit thicker clouds, and then they thin out as they render. I'm talking about right here. If you look, you can see it rendering, and we never quite get there. But I mean, these clouds are okay. In other videos I've talked about that, I don't really mind them. compared to what simming used to be like. Okay, so this is really nice. Okay, whoops, see? There we go. We're in a cloud, but then we never really get out of the cloud. Here we're out of a cloud a little bit. Well, this isn't too bad. It's kind of like flying among the clouds. But remember, this is supposed to be overcast. But right now it's like broken. So we're in the clouds. This is kind of cool. However, if you look around, it's like a really thin layer of cloud. See, it's solid white above us, and then darker below. So let's get below this cloud layer, and I'll tell you what I'm talking about here. So see, that was a unrealistic transition. There really wasn't anything below us, and now we're solid. So now, watch what happens. We'll pop out from under the cloud. I'm watching my, there we go. So now watch what's going to happen. Now, it actually looks overcast for the most part. See that? So above the clouds did not look very overcast at all. And now it could pass for overcast. And the lower we get to the ground, the more overcast it'll look. So there we go. So they're puffy, but they're not broken at all. We're above the clouds, it was completely broken. So that kind of drives me nuts now that I know what to look for. I did turn visibility down, which is kind of funny too, because you can have overcast but really good visibility. This is kind of funny. So now let's raise our overcast layer a little bit. Not much though, because I want to turn on some storms in a second. In fact, just for fun, let's raise this because I think that's hilarious. Now you can have overcast but still see really far. This should be pretty hazy. So there I raised it. I raised the ceiling, the bottom of the ceiling, I guess. Wow, look at my frame rates now. In the 30s. Even with all these clouds, I'm in the 30s. High 30s, look at that. I'm away from the city though. If I were to look back at the city, or too far to drop, I guess. If I were to go back over Minneapolis, we'd drop. But that's because the scenery I have for Minneapolis slaughters frame rates. It's horrible. But it looks great if you're flying slow and low. So overcast actually looks overcast because you have the cloud. Even what I'm talking about is between the clouds. So between the clouds, we have an overcast layer here. So we have some clouds and we have an overcast layer. Let's look over here. See, same thing here. We got our puffy stratus clouds, and then we have an overcast layer. See that? It's solid overcast. But if you go above the clouds, then it's just broken. Let's go above the clouds. I'm going to turn on some stormy weather, and then we're going to fly through some storms. My de-ice is still on, so I don't freeze up and crash, hopefully. So the default clouds, if you have them really thick or really thin, they're pretty good. They're better than what simming used to be. They don't really kill my frame rates as long as you turn the puffs down. Again, my puffs are at 10% in preparation for SkyMaxx Pro. A lot of people like to run that with 10%. But if you want in between clouds, if you want to fly among the clouds, if you want to go from cloud to cloud where you've got spaces in between, then default clouds do not work. This looks pretty cool though. So we got past that first layer, and now it's not so overcast anymore, even though you just saw with me how overcast it was down below, right? I haven't made any changes. And see, it's blue sky above us. It's not overcast above us. So let's go back down one more. Let's go back down one more time and see if it keeps our overcast setting. Then we're going to turn on some storms. And the reason why I'm talking about this so much is because my favorite part of SkyMaxx Pro version 3 is when you are above that overcast layer, you will look like you're floating along a down comforter on your expensive bed. That is what it looks like, and it's so amazing. And I can take out the 727, I can do a solid flight plan, fly above the cloud from VOR to VOR, drop down below just before the runway of the destination, and that is the most satisfying thing in the world. But you can't do that with X-plane default cloud. See, look at It's overcast now, see? Wasn't it just sunny a second ago above these puffy clouds? Now, of course, if we are above the overcast layer, it'll be sunny above us, but that's not where we were. We were able to look down and see the ground, and look up and be sunny. So, if that doesn't make sense, go back and watch it. I've already repeated myself 7 times, I don't have to repeat myself again. But let's get back above these clouds one more time, then I'll turn on the storms like I said. We'll start with severe weather, then we'll go to severe snowstorm, because I've never seen anybody fly with snow in X-Plane. Now, snow does not accumulate in X-Plane, we all know that. But it does accumulate on the runways, and it will snow in the air. So there almost looks like overcast below us. It's a little better, but it's still very, very broken. So if we were to look up, it should still be overcast if you compare to what we saw down below. So anyway, that's just awful. And again, clouds off in the distance look nice and thick and full, but you get there and it renders like this. It is just bad. Alright, let's see. How should we do this? Let's do precipitation. We're just going to crank this thing all the way up. And we're going to turn this down to marginal VFR. No winds right now. I'm not going to worry about winds. So we're coming into a storm here. So we should, in a moment or two, get some hail. Because we're well above freezing. In fact, right now it's 85 degrees here in Minneapolis right now. I don't know what the air temperature is 6, 7, 8,000 feet up because I wasn't paying attention. I didn't look at the weather, the real weather and the temperatures, but we'll leave it like that, I guess. We should see some hail, and then I should be able to turn out of the storm between storms, and the rain and hail should go away, but the view, if it goes how it did when I did this off camera, should be just spectacular between storms. I don't know what's going to happen when I click this X, but that's what I'm expecting. So here we go. There we go. Thunderstorms. There's some rain. I don't hear any hail. We do have radar here. Can I zoom in on that? Let's see. What's my... Don't I have a zoom key for the radar? Whatever. We're flying IFR anyway. So, okay, we're going right into this horrible storm right here. So I'm actually going to turn left and try to get between storms to go around the storm, and we should have quite a spectacular view. Of course, I'm watching all of this because you can't see anything. So I'm going to try to turn around the storm here. And I want to stay at this altitude. I don't want to lose altitude. Although we're really getting blown around. Watch this. Ha! That's hilarious. Let's not do that. Alright, let's try that again. There we go. Oh, it's snowing! The rain just turned to snow. When I unpaused it, it was raining, and now it's snowing. Okay. Alright, let's realistically drop below this weather here so I can gain some control of the aircraft. Oh, we actually flew right into that storm anyway, didn't we? Yep, we flew right into it. Because we've been turning this whole time. Right? Because I wasn't going in a straight line, so we actually turned into the storm. 12,000. What was the... I forgot what the base was. 6,000, I think? Anyway, we should pop out of here pretty quick. Yep, it's getting easier now. Now we're going up. Let's go back down. There we go. Come on. 6,000 feet I think we want. Yeah, we're coming out of that storm. There we go. Alright. Eight. Six. Where's the base of our clouds here? Oh, now it just sounds like rain for a second. Base of these clouds seem a little low. We're 1,000 feet above sea level. The ground is 1,000 feet above sea level. See 9,000? Let's increase this a little bit, see if that changes anything. Not really. Anyway, so there we go. So we look up, we got some nice storms above us. I wanted to show you what it's like between storms, but it's kind of luck of the draw. In order to get, look at that, frame rates are awesome. I'm in the mid 50s a little bit. High, well, 40 to 56. Now it's hailing on us. And the reason for the great frame rates is, ooh, there's lightning. The worse your visibility, the better your frame rates, because there are fewer objects to draw, if you're wondering how that works. So sometimes more clouds and fog increases your frame rates. In fact, they tell you in the manual for X-Plane, if you have horrible frame rates, just decrease your visibility and your frame rates will skyrocket. So now it's hailing on us. Let's see if we're really between storms again. Just some light rain. Well, looks like we're not going to get lucky. Last time what had happened was I was in a horrible storm, and it broke through the storm, like we are now, and it was clear, but then I could see the next storm in front of me. And it was just luck. I haven't been able to replicate that since, but it was amazing. It looked like real life, where you leave one storm and then you see the next one billowing in front of you. I just can't seem to do that again here. Alright, lightning is awesome. I think if we're not going to be able to find that scenario, I think we're just going to move on to snow. But yeah, I mean, we're pretty much out of that. Bummer, I really wanted to show that to you guys, but it's just kind of luck. Alright, let's turn on the snow, and I have de-ice on, so we shouldn't crash. Like I said when I did the Piper Archer, I froze up and crashed. So how do you change the snow in X-Plane? You just decrease the temperature. This is a very realistic temperature in Minnesota. Well, anything below 0 is realistic. Let's not go too cold, though, because I don't know if this aircraft is going to affect it or not. So here you can see where we were getting blown in the storm. Because, see, this isn't moving. Here we got blown in the storm and turned around and whatever. All right, let's, well, we're not going to have a runway in front of us, but you can choose ice or slush on your runway. Then you can regenerate weather. So it turns to snow. So it should be not much going on. Then we'll fly into the storm and you see some snow, hopefully. The slush, when I practiced this in Pullman with the FREEWARE scenery, and when I went to the runway, it was full of slush. It was amazing. So I don't know if that's X-Plane doing that texture or if that was Pullman being modeled to do snow on the runway, but it was great. It was awesome. All right, so here's snow. I've never seen anybody do snow in X-Plane. So here it is. The difference between snow and rain is it makes no noise, and it's thicker and whiter. Otherwise, the rain makes a sound. Hail is awesome. Hail is really loud, though. If you're wearing headphones, you can't miss it. All right, let's just go straight towards the storm and see what happens here. Kind of wish I were near airport to try to land, but I don't think we are. In fact, I'm just gonna check that quick. Let's just take. I have the VOR and the ILS program for KANE. That's where he took off. Oh, I didn't mention that. We took off from County-Blaine, Kilo Alpha November Echo. That's the one that one of the many I modeled for the Gateway, and I spent many months on that. So I wanted to use it again, and I didn't want to use Pullman because I didn't want to crash into a mountain. Anyway, local map. This is like your VFR chart. Where's the aircraft? Yeah, I don't think we're by anything. Yeah. Oh my gosh, we really... Well, actually, I know where we are because I'm from here, but we covered quite a distance in quite some short time here. I guess, well, that's kind of far to go to Flying Cloud. I just want to see if the runways are going to be icy. Let's put MN69 in our GPS and just go towards it, not land on it. Oh, let's see if I can remember this GPS. MN69 was direct. Alright, so we got our GPS program. Normally I wouldn't do that pause, but anyway, so there's there. I want to change that range though, and it's not. Whoops, I gotta pay attention here. Anyway, I want to fly towards Maple and just see what it looks like, what the runway looks like. So this doesn't look terribly bad. Overcast, snowstorm coming up on some clouds. Let's turn the weather back on. Is that one? There we go. I really want to change my range out of 40 though. Map. Whoa. I like that. That's okay. It's better. Turn that off to see where we're going though. 1.998 nautical miles. Should be able to see the runway. Oh, that's not working. Oops, let's see. Is it this one? Turn that off. Oh. Okay, we're going right next to it here, it says. Pretty heavy snowstorm. There it is. No, it isn't. Yes, it is. Okay, let's see. So let's see if we can find this thing. Oh, there it is. Is that it? There it is. That was it before. I was right. So I just want to see if you can see the ice on there. Because... oh, yeah, I know. Yeah, you can see ice on the ice and slush on the runway.
Hold on. 1,000. Sink right.
So yeah, there's definitely ice.
1,000.
Ice on that runway. It's a turf runway, but look at that. See? All right. Well, hope you enjoyed the video. It was a totally different kind of video today. I'm not going to bother landing, but we got to see some different weather. And my opinion on default clouds is the same as it was a couple minutes ago. If you have full clouds turned on with storms and you're below the storms, it looks super cool. And if you have clouds set to the bare minimum, it looks super cool. But anything in between leaves a lot to be desired. And I'm comparing that to the near future when I install the new clouds, because prior to SkyMaxx Pro and researching it, I was happy with all of it. But now that I see what can be done, that's what I'm looking forward to. So, if you enjoyed the video, please subscribe, tell your friends. I hope you enjoyed seeing snow in X-Plane. It doesn't accumulate, and they have already said they're not going to have seasonal textures in X-Plane 10 at all, but it's snowing. I got it to snow, and we'll catch you on clear skies.